to isn't there a really big like worldwide convention in Italy that I'm
You're
blanking on the
thinking
name, but
probably of Lake Como.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
That
thinking
looks
that
really
Lucasonic.
cool. Did you go to
that
that
one.
or
No, no, we haven't gone. So to go to that one, it's that's like the Super Bowl of cons here. It's and it's not
okay.
you're not going to see cosplayers there. There's not really an artist alley because it's focused on art. And even though comic books are the main medium of the art form there, you're not going there to rifle through long boxes and stuff. It's to celebrate the artists. They don't even invite writers there.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
well, as far as
yeah,
guests, you can
yeah.
go there as a writer, obviously, if you buy a ticket or but you're not
but
going to
you're
be
not paneling or you're not on the
right.
receiving end or whatever.
They're walking around serving wine and spritzers, and it's a very high priced entry fee. No one's dressed up as a raptor walking around knocking over
You
your
can
table
change
to
that
say,
rule. You can show up there, just pay the price.
"I don't want to be that guy." I heard
I will
I already
I
have a
will
lot
turn it
of
into news.
responsibility on my shoulders being an American here, so
Yeah, you gotta represent. Uh,
yeah.
that's cool though. Um, well, heck, yeah. I mean, Andrea doesn't know, and I actually don't know your guys' relationship with each other. Have you edited any of Jonathan's books, Andrea?
Yeah, I very much enjoyed working with them. We did. I'm trying to remember here. I did worked on his series, The Recount, which was a lot of really fun. And then he did Jonathan did a prequel for that called The Preamble, which I think is the best work, that I'd ever edited of his. I really, really enjoyed what he had done with that.
Thank you.
Um, and a lot of stuff happened with Scout, which we don't necessarily need to go into, but a lot of things happened. And
Yeah.
one of my biggest disappointments is I would have loved to continue to work on the recount because the fan reception was very good. And it was a really interesting story. And there's so many different things that could have been done. I mean, we had conversations, Jonathan could tell you ideas that
Yeah.
he had that I thought were really good. And um, ironically enough, now we're living the recount. So it's like
Again,
I'm not sure that now is the moment to write it because
right,
it almost would feel derivative of what's actually happening.
right.
The other one we worked on together was a series called Quicksand, which is more
Hmm.
of your traditional sci-fi. I had a little bit of the Aliens second movie, Aliens vibe,
Hmm.
you know. Um, Also kind of a journey to the center of the earth, kind of
Hmm.
a little bit of that in there too, and other things. But that was fun to work on as well. But it was comparatively the recount was very heavy in terms of
Hmm.
like the intensity, and of the political ramifications of it. Um, yeah, but it was wonderful working with him. I definitely would work with him again.
Yeah. Likewise.
Nice. Well, I mean, yeah, John's been on here at least one time before, so we've gone through your career. So I figured today we'd have just a more casual back and
Yeah,
forth conversation, learning
that'd be
from each
great.
other.
Yeah.
What do you have right now that's like you're promoting or live? I saw hospice, but I know that
Yeah.
you're always working on more than one project at once. So what do you have going on right now?
So hospice ends on Thursday at noon Eastern time. Uh, what else is coming up is the campaign that's going to follow this summer is Brackish number two. Um, that's one the issue one was ran by another publisher a couple of years ago, and it just, in my opinion, they botched the whole thing. I got it all back, and I'm taking it over as I should have done from the get go, and you know, rejuvenating that one into the crowdfunding scene. So that one's going to be following up, and then I feel there's a ton of stuff out there. There's two licensed properties I worked on, one in 2024 and 2025 that still haven't been announced yet, which is really frustrating because I'd love to talk about those things.
Oh,
But
that's annoying.
every 3 months they tell me, all right, 1 to 2 weeks, we're going to announce it. And then dark. And then 3 months later, all right, 1 to 2 weeks. And
Oh my goodness.
what they've been, one of them this has been going on since October of 2024, you know.
Yeah.
So it's painful. It's extremely
I've got a
painful.
story that
Yeah,
we could
yeah.
work
No,
on
I see
together.
you
Yeah.
post
Um,
about that kind of stuff on
Mm.
wherever. I follow you on everything, so I don't know where,
Yeah.
you say what, but it's like
Mm.
I've had the exact same issues. I mean, everybody has.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk about the kind of dramas they've had with
Mm.
artists kind of flaking on
Mm.
them. I'm not sure if you've had that. I never really had
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
but I've
yeah.
also only worked with like a handful. I've been very selective with the artists, aside from cover artists, but like
Mm.
interior. But I've had,
Yeah.
I mean, every single publisher, editor, besides
Yeah.
Andrea that I've worked with, I've had like just exactly like you're saying. And I see you going through to where it's just like, we'll let you know in the big thing in 2 to 3 weeks. And then, you
Yeah.
give them 3 months and then you
Right.
follow up and they're like, yeah, this and this. And it's like, I understand obviously like the, the difficulties of whatever's going on. But what's annoying is when you see somebody else that like
Right.
was announced and you're like, how did this get jumped ahead of
Yes.
my book? And it's
Right.
just like yeah, and then you never get a response, and then it's like you reach out to another person in the companies and it's always just like some other kind of just
Yeah.
a whole rigmarole. And yeah, it's the
Yeah.
worst part of this whole
It really
process is
is.
dealing with publishers and the lack of communication amongst people in this industry who I don't know of
Yeah.
anything else. I mean, I do all kinds of other things, but outside of comics, no one ever just ghosts me on emails.
No.
It's
Yeah.
it's only normal in comics. Like
Right.
even in the film industry, I'll have people that they will at least respond back as if they
Mm.
texted on a phone that's
Yeah.
just like, I'll figure it out.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
even if they don't figure it out and I follow up, they'll be like, yeah, I don't know. At least they gave me
Yeah.
that, you
Right.
know?
Some type of acknowledgement that
yeah.
made you, at least you're not a
Some, yeah,
ghost, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not to totally ignore you whenever, especially whenever with these things, it's like
Yeah.
they sort of they license your rights, so they own you,
Right.
so or they own your
Yeah.
properties, and it's like you're just sitting on it, and it's like, well, if you're not going to do this, I want to like cancel this stuff, which
Right.
brings me to my main question with you is like, have you seen any success of like taking like books that have already been published with one publisher and trying to republish them with someone else or
Yeah.
uh
Haven't really gone through that full life cycle yet. I got the rights to the recount back last year, beginning of last year, and I have no desire to bring it to another publisher. As far as reprinting what has been out, because who's left out there, to even bring it to, and uh, unless they can cut me a check up front, there's no one worth it. That's
yeah,
why not just keep it and crowdfund it myself. As far as uh, doing like what I really want to do first is a deluxe hardcover edition of what we already have. Um, I've been sitting on a very expensive, well-known cover artist for that for years, and I'm not making my money back on that yet. So as soon as I can do that campaign, hopefully raise the money that's going to fund volume two, and then get the ball rolling again. But at that point, I've invested so much of my own blood, sweat, and tears. Why bring it to another publisher? Again, like unless they can bring me money up front, and I can't think of any publisher right now, and that would even do that. I mean, I besides Mad Cave with their creator owned things that they do, I just don't see it. So I'd rather just put it out on my own terms on crowdfunding, continue to build my own audience, because as long as you're building your own audience, through that platform, they're going to want you. They just want the numbers, and that's it. So if I can build an audience there that that can be portable to them, that's fine. So no more of this fun creating the whole thing on my own dime and then waiting 6 months later, maybe 6 months later, to get something back. That game's over for me. I'm not doing that anymore. That was a hard lesson learned
Yeah, no,
across
I totally get you.
across
Yeah,
multiple publishers. Across multiple publishers, you know.
yeah, that. Oh, yeah. If we want to just cry for a while, we can do that. But it's like that's one half, and then like I had just diamond distribution. Then my whole book's just nothing.
Yeah,
That's just like you wait 6 months to get something. It's like I just waited 6 months to like get the green light
right,
for a book I already funded myself to then have it get released to then basically, it finally go into shops and I'm hustling, spending money to get people to basically read the book just
right.
for all of that to be caught up in bankruptcy. So it's just
Yeah,
like complete zero. That's about a year and a half of a complete sunken investment.
right.
Like it completely ruined the Liquid Kill franchise. Like
Yeah,
I just
it
could not
sucks.
afford to do anything more. And then it
Yeah,
just basically killed everything else I had in the pipeline. It's like it'd be one thing if you just didn't break even, but to just get
right.
zero in was
Yeah,
like not even in the playing cards for me. And I don't even really have the ability to like self-publish it until I basically get the rights back. Because according to the
yeah,
publishers, they'll eventually get that money
right.
because it's like caught up. So you're just in like legal limbo or whatever. Now I get when people talk about just like the film industry where they say something's in turnaround, where I
Hmm.
was like, how can that happen? Like you can always just get it back. And they're like, no, that's what happens is somebody else owns it all, and like you could have spent all the development funds to get it just to where somebody else owned it. So you basically
Hmm.
paid somebody else to buy it from you. Right? Like,
Yeah,
and then and now they own it and they're not going to do anything to make any revenue from it. So you're never going to get anything. So you spend all the time, all the money just for
yeah,
somebody else to do nothing with it. And it's just
right.
like, oh man, a lot of
And it's a
nightmares
bummer.
in this industry.
Yeah.
Here's what I would toss out. I think, Jonathan, we can talk off air about this in more specificity, but one of the things I think is that you need to find a publisher, what a publisher can bring to you, at least the kinds we're talking about. I'm talking about the smaller publishers. Okay.
Right.
What they're going to bring to you is distribution. They're going to help you
Hmm.
get lots of your book out there. And as somebody
Hmm.
who's done, both of us have done a lot of conventions, we know
Hmm.
that for as hard as we sell out those conventions, they can do more than we can do, even with not even a great selling. Let's say they sell
Right.
3,000 copies of the book, which is not setting off fireworks, right? If
Right.
but if they were to sell 3,000 copies, that's still, how long does that take us to sell that on our own?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
take a long time.
So
Yeah.
that's what the publisher can bring to you. What I
Mm.
think needs to happen is you need to work only with a publisher who will allow you to crowdfund it first and then
Hmm.
bring it to them for distribution. And then any
Yeah.
money that they throw your way, you know,
Right. It's
because if you
bonus.
think of the splits are not in the writer's or creator's favor. I mean, if you
No.
think about how this works, it's a $5 book, okay? A
Hmm.
$5 book as it sells in the comic book store. Half of that is the comic book store for
Right.
them to get it and put it on their shelf, okay, taking up
Yeah.
shelf space. So that means that for that remaining $2.50, you've got your distribution, whatever that
Hmm.
is going to be. You got your publisher and you got your creator. Now, before the publisher and creator can make any money, you got to pay off the printing costs first.
Right.
At
That-
okay, at what, 20 cents a comic book coming out of your pocket? I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is if you kind of as a creator, if you kind of assume that and you figure that I need to make whatever money I'm going to really make off this book is got to come first out of the crowdfunding.
Yeah.
know, and if you approach it that way and then say, hey, I'll hand it over to a publisher, who is willing to say, hey, let you do your crowdfunding. We
Yeah.
understand that you need to get something out of this. Do that when you're ready, then we'll roll it out. Because the thing is, I really don't think that there is that much carryover between the sales that are made in crowdfunding like Kickstarter and what's
Right.
actually made at the local comic book store. I think that these are really, in a lot of ways, two separate markets.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
It's not to say that the people that buy it on crowdfunding won't ever go to a comic book store. That's not it.
Sure.
I think the people that are buying those kind of things, they're looking for very unique products. They
Yeah.
want to be they want to be first adopters. They're
Right.
kind of they're brave to try new
Hmm.
things, whereas that's not representative of the larger comic book reading community. I mean,
Right.
you know, their idea of brave is to read, a miniseries, Captain America miniseries written by an unknown person,
Right. Right. Right.
but has great art.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, there are a couple of publishers that I'm aware of that will allow that. And I
Hmm.
think that's the path, is to get the publisher that will concede the fact that, that you need to do the crowdfunding. It's really not an optional thing. You have to,
Yeah.
you know.
We just talked to Cullen Bunn earlier today. So
That was
you have a
cool, by
lot
the
of
way.
shoes to fill, Jonathan.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, we're going to be measuring you up there. You
yeah.
are wearing a hat, though, and that is definitely in your favor. Because Colin was wearing his signature hat. So,
His little page boy hat.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That
But
is his signature.
I bring that up because I asked him, obviously you and I know, and you're just talking about like we basically fronted the costs ourselves, found artists, and pitched books or nearly completed books. And I was like, how many of what you do are basically idea pitches or pitch sheets versus doing a book? And he was like, 100% idea. He
Yeah.
says he doesn't even do that until he gets a green light from a publisher. So I
Right.
was gonna like mention to you, like he was saying that he's sometimes just sending people like, hey, what do you think of this, and this? And they're just like one sentence one liners. Like he doesn't even
Yeah.
have a sheet filled out. Like to me, I've always been like, you gotta have like a very in-depth thing. And he kind of proved the opposite of that, where it's like if you're already established enough in the industry, and I would think that
Yeah.
you and I are at least provable that to a publisher that we can finish books.
Mm.
That at least we would have enough credibility and respect to maybe do that. Because I never even thought to just
Yeah.
start like really reaching out to people, or especially the people I already have somewhat of a network with, and like you do.
Mm.
Um, but the problem is, and now I'm looking up, is like I don't really know how many publishers are left
Right.
that you can really even do that with. Like, first of all, yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm looking at them now. It's like, okay, so not to talk forever, but I'll get like your feedback on some of these names if you know anything about them or who all like you reach out to. But so I created like a YouTube video 2 or 3 years ago. It's one of my more popular videos. That's just a list of all the comic publishers that I know of
Mm.
that publish like creator owned or that do
Mm.
hire for uh, licensed, work for hire stuff, etc. And I'm now looking at them. I published that first in 2023. A
Mm.
lot of them don't even exist. Bandit of Bards, I don't even think is even like
I
at
think
one point was a co-op. Is it still doing stuff?
I yeah, I think it's still a co-op, but they're going to crowdfund your book first, and
Exactly. Yeah, they're kind of one
yeah,
step above, you know, uh, self-publishing or vanity
right,
publishing or something like that.
yeah.
Blood Moon Comics, it went under.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They went out of business during the
during
bankruptcy.
Aftershock Comics. I don't think they're around anymore either, right?
I think no, I think they're back, but I don't think they're back to publishing. I think they're working with the creators that they may have had in Tangent and
Yeah, I
in
think that
Limbo.
they're a lot like Scout in the sense that they're still releasing the books that have already been under their name, but I don't know if they're accepting new submissions
Yeah,
or
I think they're going to probably go back to what they had before when they were, in their prime, was they were reaching out to creators and asking those creators to submit pitches directly to them. That's what happened to me. I was pitching to Aftershock after an invite that I received, and I gave them like 10 pitches over a course of about maybe a year and a half. And I got to tell you, it was one of the most heartbreaking and humbling times of my life because I would put these things together. We were just talking about, the opposite of what Cullen Bunn has to do. A page and a half, break down a 5-issue series, and try to sell it to them, and they would always come back with some type of lame excuse like, "Oh, we think that ending would be too predictable, or the twist." And blah, blah. I'm like, "Well, you have editors, right? That's what an editor's for, to to work. This isn't the final thing. Let's work on it together." But Lemonade from Lemons, I got a lot of good pitches and stories in my head from that. And what came from those failed Aftershock pitches was Quicksand. That was the first one I ever pitched to them. um, Can I Scream, which turned into a one shot that I did with my wife, which was published by Keenspot, which sold out. Went to a second print, which is currently nominated for Best Pencils and Inks in the Zelda Awards for. So, like, kudos to
Oh,
my wife. Brackish, which
you'll have to be nice to her now. If she wins that, now you're in trouble.
yeah, yeah. um, Brackish, which I'm putting out on my own. So I have this library, and more. There's obviously more than those 10 pitches, but I developed a good foundation, and they're not going to go to waste because that's why with Quicksand, I dedicated so much to that pitch. I believed in it so much, and when they said no, we're going to pass, I said, it's. Oh, here's what they told me. It sounded like too much of something that was already in the works, and what came out by Aftershock that looked like Quicksand? I don't know, but uh, I put it out myself. I crowdfunded issue 1, and it was a success. I crowdfunded issues 1 through 3, and it was a success. Then Scout picked it up, and then Scout reprinted 1 through 3, and then came out with 4 and 5. Despite all the shenanigans that happened with Scout, it still proved to be something that was worth something to somebody, and I'm really proud of that. I had a great time. I bonded with Deborah Lanchinese, the artist, with that. We've gone on to do other projects together, like Atticus and the Magical Pillow Fort and Hyper Aware. So, long story short, soapbox thing is that a lot of good came out of that rejection period, and then they had to eat humble pie when they filed for bankruptcy. So what do they know?
Yeah, that's the real lesson. You just tell them, like, yeah, all those you denied, that's why you're bankrupt.
Right.
Well, I mean, I honestly think that, and I say this as somebody who's, working for multiple publishers. I think that they act like they know more than they really know. I mean,
Of course.
I want you to think about something like, Harry Potter. My understanding
Mm,
is she was rejected by something like 40 publishers. Now, let
right.
me point this out. I had never read that because it's a kid's book, So,
Mm,
but I finally got around to saying, well, got some time in my hands. Well, let's see what this is all about. Do you know how many pages it took me to realize that this should have been published by the first publisher?
first page.
It was inside 10 pages. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, this is imaginative. This is very cool. This
Mm,
I would never allow that to go off my desk. What I'm
right.
getting at is I don't think most of those 40 publishers even bothered to read it.
Right.
Honestly,
Yep.
and I've talked to publishers, decision makers who tell
Mm,
me that they know if they want to publish a book inside 30 seconds.
yeah.
Inside 30 seconds. What does
That's
that tell
rough.
you? It tells you they haven't read your proposal.
No.
You can't do
Right.
that in 30 seconds. They're looking at the art for the
Mm,
most part, Now, obviously not all of them, because you have situations like what Cullen described to us, where that
Mm,
he gives this pitch without art, which is amazing.
right. Yeah.
Of
Good
course,
on
he's
him.
got a name recognition that if you
Mm,
didn't hire him to do it, you're an idiot.
right.
No, I'm
Yeah, I don't
serious.
think he like
Right.
expressed that clearly, or that he wouldn't say. But it's like to us, it's like, yeah, we know why you can do that because your name itself is essentially a
Well, he's
celebrity in this
also
space.
proven it with these. He doesn't just do a book. He does,
Right.
like a monumental. I have those six huge hardcovers of it, the Sixth Gun. It's
Right.
ridiculous. Stacks
Yeah.
up like this. So
Yep.
yeah, he can handle it. He'll be able to finish the job. You know,
Right.
but it's like you have to. I think the reason why I say all that is I think you have to believe in your own work. I think
Exactly.
you have to believe in your own ideas, and not
Yep.
let some publisher who might not even really look at your stuff or give it any critical thought, to
Mm,
decide to tell you that you're good enough or not good enough.
right. Yep.
Well, you
That's
know
a good
what?
point.
Since I've started this, I kind of want to just keep going down this list and
Yeah.
get your feel or thoughts on what you know about these publishers, and if you have any experiences with them, if you've pitched them, if not, don't know anything
Sure.
about them. AWA.
AWA. Oh no, I know. I think they're still around, but I don't think
They
they
are.
had. I remember I looked into their submission process at the very beginning of my career, and I remember it. The format that they wanted submissions was super difficult. I mean, down to the graphic designing elements of it was just incomprehensible to me. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to pitch to these people. But
Yeah, let me look more into it. I don't even think I thought last I checked they don't even accept unsolicited submissions anymore.
they probably
It's like
closed
I
that.
they
believe
Yeah.
that's
say
the
that
case. Yeah.
they reach out or they're consistently looking for new talent or
Yeah.
something. But I remember I went to nope, I'm thinking of a different publisher, never mind. But I was gonna say I thought that I talked to them, but no, I talked to Bad Ideas, which I'll get to later.
Wow.
Um, Ablaze Publishing, are
I think there's,
they're still
yeah,
around?
I think so, but in limited production, from what I see outside looking in.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, I remember AWA now is like they are doing books with like Ronda Rousey and
Yeah,
they're doing kind of that route.
right.
But I still think big books.
Mhm.
Asylum Press.
Not
Is
familiar with
that,
them. Mhm.
I wrote is published only produces premium comic books and graphic novels with horror, science fiction, and action genres. I think they're like a genre publisher.
Sounds like one, yeah.
Small Caliber Comics is so Andrea can speak to that. Are they
Yeah, they're
still
still
a
they're
thing?
still there. Yeah, I mean they do only trades,
Mhm.
and so in other words, it needs to be done really or close to done when you give it to them. And their main focus is digital. They're
Mhm.
not gonna. And the problem is, if you think about it, the whole focus on trades, you're kind of setting yourself up for a big disappointment because small presses don't sell a lot of trades. Scout didn't
Right.
Yeah.
sell huge amounts of trades. If you sold 300 trades of something, that's pretty
Mhm.
good, you know.
Right.
And so if you have a model that's focused on only trades, you
Mhm.
better have a way to get them out there. And then, and even if you do the big bookstore,
Mhm.
again, I don't know how much we talk about this, but with the big stores, they have returnability. That was
Right.
Simon and Schuster. That was the
Mhm.
poison pill
Yeah.
because the publisher, imagine this as a publisher. They're saying, hey, we want 1,000 copies of the recount in
Mhm.
trade volume. Okay, great. We print them off and ship them off to them. And they sell 100 of them and then want to
Mhm.
return 900 to you, which
Yeah.
you've already given royalties to the creator. If you did were
Mhm.
honest, you gave
Right.
royalties to the creator on a basis of 1,000 books.
Mhm.
Plus you paid for the printing cost. You
Yeah.
only sold 100, and now they're asking for you to pay for the shipping to ship it back,
Yeah.
or you could pay to put in a warehouse, their warehouse.
Sure.
It's like dealing with the mafia. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
probably getting myself into real trouble, but I'm just saying is no. For a small
Yeah.
No, yeah.
publisher, the math just doesn't math,
Right.
you know. Now I'll be assassinated in my sleep, I'm sure, for saying that.
The Simon and Schuster guys are coming after you
Yeah,
already.
Yeah. He
make it
figured us
quick, guys.
out.
Just make it quick. I'm good with
uh
it.
yeah, but no, that brings me to the next one. Bad idea. I think they were doing a thing where they were the opposite, where they're not releasing any trades or something like that. They're just going to be floppies. But I don't
Yeah.
think that. I think they're another one that's sort of like just turned into a dud. Like nothing happened
I,
with it.
I still see them on yeah, I think maybe on my Twitter feed from every now and then. I think is it Matt Kind who is associated with them, who does a lot of
I,
work with them.
somebody that I probably follow, but
Yeah,
everybody blends together when you're like active in this
sure.
space. Honestly, like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I can't remember. I definitely have not reached out to them, but I do remember that like them talking about their initiative at one of the cons I was at because I was like a part of an event right after theirs. So I was like, I briefly was talking to the guys, and there's a lot of different people involved. It's kind of like the one of the guys is sort of the main focal point, and I forget probably the guy you're thinking of, but then there were other people that were involved in sort of their marketing plans and
Yeah,
stuff like that and other initiatives. But um point being is like I'm not sure how much it's like you can't just say, oh, they release 12 titles a year and like three or four of
yeah,
them are like unknowns. It's like that information is kind of unknown because I don't think that they've
right,
released that much. Black Mask is another one to where I remember them releasing a lot of stuff back in whenever I was starting, but nowadays I'm not
right.
sure if they're still around.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from them, and I remember they had a pretty easy submission process because I did submit to them, um, a few times and never heard back. But yeah,
Do
not
you ever
sure if
just email editors and or like, people at the publishers and say, "Hey, can I send
yeah.
you some ideas?"
Yeah, I kind of just say, you know, I do like a no more than 3 sentence email to them, and I'll say who I am, why I'm emailing them, and then can I send you some samples of my work, and that's it. Don't want anything longer than that. They're not going to read it, as we've discussed before,
Yeah.
and yeah, that also, I'm cold emailing, so I don't want to, you know, be unprofessional any more than I already am, to an extent. But yeah, I do
No, yeah,
that
that's a safe way to do
fairly
it.
often, and I've got some bites. I've had some bites from some pretty interesting publishers. I was not expecting, and they said, yeah, sure, send us something, but I've yet to get all right, I read it and here's my thoughts, or like, I've sure send me something and then nothing after that multiple times. So it's like, I don't even say I got my foot in the door, but I know someone's on the other side of the door, and that's
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. They didn't let you in, but they at least opened the door and
Yeah, they
said,
didn't.
I'll take your man or whatever
They,
you're giving me."
they didn't sick the dogs after me.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't immediately blackball you and say the fact that
Right,
you reached out shows that you are not worthy.
right.
That's our ultimate fears, right? I
Yeah.
had one that actually did bite back. Because I do the same thing, obviously, and that's why I'm curious who you've actually reached out to. And uh, but I've also had my horror stories where it's like I got like you were saying with Aftershock to where it was like I had back and forths with some pretty big people, and then like just kind of out of nowhere, like now this editor is going to take your script. And then that person just kept sending it back, sending it back, sending it back, and then eventually passed on it after like six
Wow.
months of like everybody greenlighting it from
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh yeah,
Man, that's some
I'll
heartache.
reveal it. It was boom, and then it
Mm,
went from like a full series to
mm,
nope, we're gonna put a portion of it or this idea into the Hello Darkness to then nothing
mhm.
after a
Right.
long time. And it was
Man,
so it was very
that's
disheartening to where
cruel.
it's like you're
Yeah.
like almost there and then uh complete nothing. And
Yeah.
now that was before Ross Ritchie sold it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
so now I don't even like the connections I had at that time. I don't even think are there anymore. Or they might. One of the guys I know for sure is, but he's in a different role.
right. I think they shuffled some people around after that change of hands, and they went spread out amongst some other publishers.
Yeah, and I think they kind of were taking a different approach because I haven't really gotten any responses back since my
Mhm.
latest inquiries. So I'm just like, ah, dang, kind of my foot in is now back to I'm like everybody else again.
Yeah.
What about, okay, here's a good one that has done the opposite to where Mad Cave Studios has gone from small to bigger, as opposed to the
Right.
rest of these went from like big to nothing or bigger to smaller.
Yeah.
Mad Cave is now rising to where I put
Right.
them in a category of like, not quite the new image, but probably the leading independent publisher for us creator-owned creators,
Right.
probably.
Yeah, I think they're the upper echelon. I would say they're no longer a small press. I'd give them mid-sized publisher now,
Yeah,
with considering that
exactly.
they have licensed properties like Speed Racer and Gotcha Man and the Phantom. That's big. That's that took a serious investment on Mark London and his team to, that's a true risk. I, I like seeing that. I think that's great, while still publishing creator owned stuff that can be submitted directly, while still doing a talent search, and Mark still doing his own creator stuff, and branching out to more imprints, doing a manga imprint and a all ages imprint. That's growth. That's what you want to see. So I tip my hat to them, and I, yeah, shout out to Mad Cave. I think they're doing what's right. That's the light at the end of the tunnel right now.
For sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I'll shout them out as much as I can because yeah, they're one of the ones that have gotten back to me, and I have a
Yeah,
rapport with them as well. But yeah, it is interesting, like you said, they took the risk, they did it right, and it's
yeah,
working. So they're
right,
like proof that at least as of now, that it's not all doom and gloom for everybody in comics. If you do it right
right.
and you have the right investment on board, and I guess don't bite off more than you can chew.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, they're they're doing a lot of things right. Next
Yeah,
one I've got on the list, No Brow Press. I
I've
think
heard the name, but yeah.
they're like kind of what's the right word? Not traditional comics so much. They're more
Mm,
like kind of slice of life graphic novels, if I remember right.
okay.
They're
Yeah.
very indie, but and I think they like are one of those where they have their own retail shop as well, or a series of
Mm,
retail shops where they kind of have their own pipeline of they
okay.
have their audience like physical
Sure.
bricks and mortar audience, and or
Yeah.
something like that. Scout, obviously, we all know about Sumerian
Mm.
comics. They're still doing stuff.
Yeah.
They're like a not an imprint, but basically with the massive guys.
Well,
And
there.
obviously, I know about them because I'm published under Massive as well.
Sumerian Comics is an arm of Sumerian Records. That
Yeah.
so they were Sumerian Comics was Behemoth. Um,
Yep. Exactly.
Sumerian bought Ash, who owns Sumerian Records, bought Behemoth, changed the name to Sumerian. So now what they're doing is, in addition to a small amount of creator-owned original ideas, they're producing graphic novels based off of bands. They just had a Guns N' Roses, well, Axl Rose comic book, and a slew of other ones. And I think that's what they're capitalizing most on is, there's a fan, kind of like Mad Cave getting the license for these nostalgia cartoon shows. Now they're getting the license from these bands and producing graphic novels to a fan base that already exists, and
Yeah.
making that an extension to the album, like a graphic novel that's based off of a particular album, which is really smart, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's why they're working is they don't do so much creator owned anymore. It's almost
Right.
all if it's not their own record, the bands, it's licensed
Right.
like classic horror, like American Psycho, The
Mhm.
Fog. I
Yes.
think they did some video games like Watch Dogs or
I
something
know
like
they did
that.
one for Basic Instinct. They
Yeah, yeah.
The Crow. They came out with which was John Barr's Crow. Not the Crow the movie, the actual
Yeah, yeah.
the original Crow from the comic book. So yeah, they're getting licensed properties. Yeah, from musicians, movies as well. So that's
Have you
diversified.
reached out to them at all to try to get licensed, work on their licensed properties at all?
Yeah, I've got a good report with uh, Nathan Yoakum, who is the original owner of Behemoth,
Behemoth.
and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
he's the president. I'm not sure his exact title, but he's in charge of the Submarine Comics, and they also started doing Penthouse, Hit Parade, or they're rejuvenated some magazines as well. So that's all underneath the umbrella of Sumerian.
Gotcha. What about Source Point Press?
So I had two books printed from them, put out from them. Caffeinated Hearts, which was originally crowdfunded and then published by them, and then Hyper Aware, which went directly to them. And they came out just before Source Point shut down for a time being, and they came back recently, but they're not really Their model now is more of a distribution model, so they're not publishing your book. The way I described it to someone is um, they're the brother-in-law that you borrow the Costco membership card. You go to Costco, you buy a bunch of groceries. You don't have to pay for the membership, but when you get home, you have to give your brother-in-law half of your groceries. That's a very high level overview, but they have deals. They're doing graphic novels only, kind of like Caliber. um, they expect the creators to crowdfund the book if it's not hasn't already been crowdfunded, and you pay for your print run as well. Then they will just distribute it through their channels, which I think is Lunar and Simon and Schuster, one or the other, or possibly both. So that's basically what it is
They have
a
Prana too,
distribution
don't
model.
they? I think they also have Prana.
Prana, yeah, that actually might be Prana instead of Simon and Schuster, or both.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a
Okay.
possibility too. So if you've already crowdfunded, if you already have a graphic novel, if you already have a surplus of stock that doesn't have another publisher's thing stamped on it, I don't even think they're going to put their logo on your book either. It's just a
Strictly just pay to play
distribution,
to get it into the distribution
right?
channels.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I talked to a few people recently and we were discussing, yeah, like there is now because of the whole debacle with Diamond, it's basically just Lunar and Penguin. And if you can't get with them, which most people can't, even fairly
Yeah.
established people, because
Yeah.
there's just too much for them. They're not like set up yet to handle this much uh demand, I guess, in a sense,
Yeah.
or like they can't warehouse everything. So they said that
Yeah.
they're basically having to go through sort of their already established people.
Mhm.
And that's what's happening is people like Source Point who already have the basically the inline with distribution
Right.
with these companies. You can go and Source Point's basically just like we don't have the content or the bandwidth, but we still have these connections. So that's why they're
Yeah.
doing that, where they're basically taking on, or at least there might be some vetting obviously involved where they don't just take anybody. But that's
Sure.
essentially what is happening is if you want to get into the traditional distribution, comic shops,
Mm.
etc., you have to go through one of these intermediaries,
Right.
because that's kind of your only option now, which is transforming what some of these companies used to be, such as
Right.
SourcePoint now and then like or Prana is its own thing, but I'm trying to, there's an, oh, and then Massive
Yeah,
started
massive indies.
Massive Indies, which
Mm.
is essentially doing the same thing.
Right.
So I didn't know that about source points. We're learning a lot today. I don't mean to,
I
uh,
hope the disclaimer is this is all off the top of my head from what I understand. Please, no one
no,
quote
you're the
me.
rep. Like this is legal. Like,
Right.
no, no, yeah, yeah.
Oh God.
Disclaimer. These are all our opinions and made up on the spot. Yeah, that's for people to know. Like, you go to the website yourselves, but
Yes.
this is for me, I know there's a lot of people that are just like me out there who are basically just like, who are the active publishers still? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like primarily what ICDb that I created was because so many people were coming to me trying to basically just be like, they need an agent, and there are no agents in this industry because the industry is not really big enough or making enough money to justify such a thing. But there
Right.
is some kind of intermediary. So like, uh, this is what you're helping me figure out where it's just like, okay, there's a lot of us at this level to where it's just like, who do we know is active? Who have you talked to? Who's like worthy? And so this is
Yeah.
cool. So if you still have time, I know that it's like nighttime where you're at, but I
Oh,
won't
I'm
hold you
good.
too long. We'll go through a few more of these titles. I won't go
Yeah.
through all of them, obviously. I have like a list of 100, but I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
going through the main small press and mid level.
Sure.
Um, Antarctic press. I know Andrea has a relationship with them, but what about you, Jonathan?
I've never submitted to them. I've stayed up on just I think is it Ben Dunn that runs them. Yeah, and I think that
Him and his brother.
they're mainly they like the manga look of a lot with their comics too. So I never really approached them. Just when they were in my feed, I would read their posts, but that's about it.
What can you say, Andrea? Like, do you know what they're actively kind of trying to do or how many like titles they're putting out and stuff like that? I know that they're active because
Yeah.
I have reached out to Ben Dunn in the past and he did get back to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben is very good about communicating with you. I think go ahead, Jonathan. I would encourage you to go ahead and take a shot. It doesn't have
Okay.
to be, I mean, they do like the manga style art, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be manga comics
Yeah.
because I've just placed two, as an editor, I've worked with, try to help as best I can, try to help
Mhm.
them get publishers. And one of them is called the Order of Saint Sophia. It's a husband and
Mhm.
wife team that I worked with actually at Scout.
Mhm.
And I just felt so bad because, we had finished the first volume and there was
Mhm.
nowhere to go with it, and
Yeah.
I just said, you got to get your property back and then we can see what we can do. And they did, they were able to get the property back.
Mhm.
And I said, the artwork has kind of a manga vibe to it. And here's the thing is Ben Dunn's series is, Warrior Nun.
Right.
So I'm like, well, it's not the same as what he's doing, but he might
Yeah.
be open to something
Sure.
that's adjacent.
Yeah.
And so we ran that past them and they ended up taking it. They liked it. And that's coming out this spring. It should be
Yeah.
pretty soon
Great.
here. And then I just recently got another book that we did called Pounds of Power. And it's uh, I worked with, I don't know if you remember the comedian Ralphie May. Does that
Oh
name?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really big guy, about 400 or
Yeah.
so pounds. Very
Sure.
funny,
Yeah.
and he died tragically, like
Mhm.
a lot of the guys do,
Yeah.
sadly.
Mm.
Anyway, I worked with his widow, Lana Turner, not the
Mhm.
Lana Turner, but she's also a comedian. If you look her up, you find her. She's very, very sweet person, wonderful person, very talented.
Mhm.
And we did a 4 issue comic because it seemed that apparently when they were together, he had dreamed about doing a comic book about a character that was overweight, like him.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we kind of came up with the idea. I wanted to have some limitation on that power. So I said, well, what if he burns through his fat stores? Kind of like
Mm.
Our Man. Do you remember the character Our Man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he takes the Miracle pill and he
Mm.
has 1 hour, hence
Mhm.
Our Man, where he has powers. But then afterwards he's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening with this guy is that he eats a burrito that's irradiated. And
Okay.
yeah,
Mm.
there's more to it than that, but just that We'll say that. Anyway, he ends up doing that, and he gets these powers. When he burns through them, he becomes like really thin, and weak
Hmm.
as a kitten. So he's vulnerable. So he has vulnerabilities.
Okay.
But it's also about, it's also a messages in the story about, self-image, dealing with,
Sure.
the feeling like you're not good enough, especially issues with your parents, because the character has issues around his father.
Hmm.
But it was really fun working with Lana. She's an absolute sweetheart. But so
That's
that
great.
that ended up getting picked up by Antarctic as well. And that's coming out in April. Issue one will come out in April. Um,
Very cool.
so they will they'll definitely look at books, and I think it's worth
Yeah.
taking a shot.
Yeah. It's good to know.
What about have you here's one I know a little bit about because the editor for my scrapbook editor feeds it. One of them was David Byrne, who is
Yes.
Hmm.
now at AMP Comics,
Right.
Hmm.
AMP. Do you know anything about them at all, or have you reached out to them?
I
I remember Don Hanfield reaching out to me when AMP was in its infancy before it was even announced or anything like that. He told me, what it was going to be, this boutique publisher, and that's pretty much what they are. Um, and he said, if you had anything you want to pitch to us, let me know. And I was in between things at the time, and but yeah, they're a small publisher. David Burns working with them, and I think I saw uh, pictures at Comics Pro. They came out with the Greatest American Hero comic
yes.
book with the actor that played him,
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
so that's again, licensed properties. That's the risk insurance of comic books right now. If I can be so bold saying something like that, but if they can get that, Don Hanfield has a lot of Hollywood connections, so that helps too. And David's very
I
experienced, and
I think one of the other the companies on my list is Red Five Comics, and I don't think
right,
they've really done anything in a while. But the guy there, the main guy at Red Five, I think is now at AMP. So like
right, I think
maybe
so too.
I forget that guy's name, but
Yeah, I'm
um maybe
blanking.
that's anyway. Yeah, just another avenue in this
Right.
world. What about Comics Experience CEX? I don't remember what was up with them. Uh, do
Yeah,
you remember them?
I do remember them. I pitched to them. I remember Joe Schmolke had some of his stuff coming
Yeah,
out with
7 years
them.
in darkness or something.
Yeah, until he was able to get his own. He was able to get his own imprint in Lunar. He got onto Lunar because he approached them way before anyone else did. So he was already in that pipeline. So that's where I think a lot of publishers went wrong. They didn't diversify in the distribution soon enough, and now they're standing in the back of the line waiting to get in. So I don't think. I'm not sure if
Oh, I
this.
know. I just remembered it. That the guy at CEX who started CEX, they haven't done anything lately because that guy now is the new exec at Boom. He took like
Oh, okay.
that's once Ross Ritchie left, that guy went to Boom
Mm.
as one of the main heads. I
Oh,
think he
interesting.
has obviously other like executive experience before he founded Comics Experience, but if I remember
Yeah.
right, that's what happened because I remember I was like, dang, they kind of like what was gonna be a cool thing went
Mm.
didn't go anywhere. And I think
Right.
that's why, because like the main guy is now heading Boom. So
Yeah,
I
makes
don't
sense.
quote me on that, but I if I remember right, that's what was up with CEX.
Mm.
Um, what about Invader Comics or Ignition Press? Have you heard or know either one of those? Ignition we just talked about
Mm.
today because Cullen Bunn is like they're a new publisher, and he was saying he was having some titles with them. I don't remember. They might be one of those that's like in their infancy, haven't even really released much yet. But I know that Jeremy Hahn, who wrote The
Mm.
Beauty with Image years ago, he's
Mm.
like re-releasing it under Ignition. So maybe they're doing like launching with sort of like re-releasing old hits or something like maybe I'm not sure.
If I'm not mistaken, what another person from Boom was pulled into Ignition, and someone from TKO was pulled into Ignition, and the titles I've seen come out are from creators with Big Two experience. So
Yeah,
I think that's a invite only type of
Yeah,
publishing house.
yeah.
Yeah. As
I've
and as
talked to
far
them about
yeah,
that. That's pretty much what it is.
right.
well,
Going back to risk insurance, hire from above, not from below. Um, and then
yeah, right.
Invader, I think they are kind of do the same thing as a lot of publishers crowdfund it and then we'll distribute it.
Gotcha. Yeah, they might not have. Do you know if Invader has lunar access?
Not sure. Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, and but they are one that I feel like was sort of rising in the past couple of years. Like they have a lot more titles with some pretty decently
Mm.
known creators. All right, I that was all I had in the like small press. But let's see, like, have you do you so when it comes to image, how do you approach image? Do you try to submit to the imprints, or do you try to reach out to other people involved with image, or do you go through the literal submissions page on their homepage?
Literal submission homepage, which I know is a wasteland for unless your name is recognizable in the email address. So I'm not. I frown upon the who, and this is. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot with this, but I just don't like the who. Let me see if I can pull some favors, or let me see if I can get an email from someone else who I know has the email. I don't like it. I rather get it all, from my own legwork type, or they find me through me promoting myself or my work, or on something else. I'd rather someone flip through, um, you know, uh, uh, an anthology I was in and be like, oh, that 4-page story really stands out amongst all of these. Let me reach out to that guy. I'd rather things happen that way than hunt down someone's Robert Kirkman's email address and ask if I can write Transformers because I know I'm not going to be able to because I don't have Big Two credit. They're going to give that to someone who has plenty of opportunities already. It's a
You know,
why even try?
I'm right there with you. And we were even Cullen Bunn mentioned the same thing. Like he hates even just reaching out to people for like blurbs about his comic books. Where I'm the same way. Where it's like even reaching
Yeah,
out to you, where it's
yeah,
like even just in asking people if they want to be on my YouTube channel. I feel
right.
weird, like as if I'm
Sure.
or just yeah, it's an awkward
It
yeah,
is.
a favor kind of feeling like a this for that relationship, and yeah, it's but it reminds me of I can't remember the comedian, but he's on SNL and he was saying that Lorne Michaels told him, you're too nice for this business. Like
Yeah,
you have to be cutthroat, like to
yeah,
make it anywhere. Like you need to go out there and basically fight for your airtime." And the comedian was like, no, I should be, if I'm good, I'm good. And if you, and people
mhm,
should organically like it. I shouldn't have to basically push people out of the way and try to like one up people and try to hold people down. And he was just like, unfortunately, that's because everybody else acts that way in this industry. That's what rises to the top. And that is
yeah,
what's unfortunate is like the squeaky wheel does get the grease. Like the people
yeah,
that are always like reaching out to everybody and
mm,
maybe there's a way to go about it that is somewhat more polite or something like the way you're
sure.
saying is like how I try to approach it. Less is more. Like
Mm,
just you don't overload people. You try to just say, ask if I can send things. But
mm,
unfortunately, yeah, it's like you wait a lot longer doing it that way. Like
yeah,
you maybe have stronger relationships with those that do bite, but it is like I don't know. It's like fishing with a pole instead of a net. I don't know. Like there is a downside to it, but I'm
Yeah,
right there with
it all comes down to how you want to sleep at night too. Do you want to be proud of how you got the things, or do you not care? And some people don't. That's fine. That's on them. But yeah, I'm just rather earn it. And if they think that they're earning it, that's good on them. That's I don't want to debate whether who's right or wrong. This is the way I prefer to do it. And
you. I feel
I
you.
I feel good about the way I'm doing it. It feels right. And it's just sometimes it just takes people a little bit longer. I like to talk about herd mentality. That's what this industry really is, unfortunately, founded on herd mentality. It's like they wait till everyone is screaming someone's name, and then that's when everyone wants a piece of the pie, instead of building fostering talent, and then you know uh, building them up that way. Uh, this isn't the only industry that does that. The film industry, as you know, does that too. It's legacy focused. A lot of it is, and you get what you want out of that. But yeah, just gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other and all those other cliches.
Yeah, no. I totally agree with you 100%. I'm right there with you. Um, we're at about an hour, so I don't want to hold you too much
Okay,
longer. I have like a few more names. Just I'm curious
yeah, go for it.
if how you've done it. Have you ever reached out to Boom at all?
I have, and I was going to mention this earlier. Before they had the change of hands, I was pitching them in a similar format I was to Aftershock, and I even took some of my rejected Aftershock pitches, tweaked them a little bit, depending on what they have in their catalog already. If the publisher already has a werewolf book, and you're going to bring them your werewolf book, probably not a good probably
Yeah,
shouldn't bring
yeah.
them that werewolf book, especially if it's an awesome. If they already have an awesome one that's cooking. But I tweaked some things, and then I wrote new pitches that Aftershock didn't see because they had already folded. So that even gave me even more catalog of pitches. The only thing is I didn't get. I don't want to say Aftershock gave me constructive criticism, but they gave me a little bit more out of their nose, where Boom was like, yeah, we're not going to take any of these, but in 3 more months, send us some more. I'm like, all right.
At least they kept you in the door, you
Yeah.
know?
And that played
I'm
out
right there with you.
for a year. Yeah. And now after hearing what you said, it's like maybe it's best that that didn't happen. So, uh,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's easy to say that when, like in hindsight, after they reject you, but like,
right.
obviously, I think any one of us would love to be on a publisher like them.
Of
But
course.
like at the same time, it is just like you do learn from it to where it's just like kind of what's
Mhm.
important sometimes isn't what you at it. It might not be the right time for that thing. That's why
Exactly.
it is good to have just a lot of stuff and always keep
Yeah.
going. What about have you ever had any what about IDW at all? Have you ever reached
I
out to any of them?
Oh God, I've been knocking on their door monthly for a little over 3 years with no bites, no zero,
Nothing. Same
nothing.
here. Yeah.
Multiple editor email addresses, even emailing their letters department, to just see if I can get in that way. Absolutely nothing. But they're akin to Boom and Dynamite. They have licensed properties, and they're not going to just hand over Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Jonathan Hedrick, who had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle curtains and linen in his
And is
bedroom,
even
and
now
even had
wearing the underwear, the matching underwear.
underwear, socks. Uh, I literally had my walls painted green when I was a kid, but it makes sense that they give that to Jason Aaron first because risk insurance. It's
Yeah,
I get it. I get it. I can't compete with that. All I can do is just keep on putting out my own books until they see that they want a piece of that pie.
for sure. No,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's the same thing where it's like there's a ton of people there doing a bunch
Hmm.
of different things.
Yeah.
Um, I I haven't even the one person that I did get a hold of there is their foreign licensing guy, Jeff Weber, because we had a
Oh,
mutual connection because he did licensing with Scout,
mm,
their foreign licensing.
right.
Um, but aside from him, no one has ever given me the time of day
Yeah.
for anything.
Well,
But I've also tried to, talk to people about promoting on. Yeah, I'm lucky with the comic chat with this channel that like I can come from different approaches, and like some people
sure.
are more like, I don't want necessarily what you're writing, but we are always looking to promote our new books into these niches, so I
Yeah.
can use that as an in. But they
Trade.
have given me nothing, so
Yeah.
that's interesting to hear that you're the same way. What about Dark Horse? I'm going after
Dark
the
Horse.
main ones now.
Yeah. With Dark Horse, I've submitted to them through their proper channels. Didn't hear anything back. And yeah, I think they get loaded a lot with submissions like image, not to a full amount, and they're not doing as many licensed stuff as they were in the heydays. They don't have RoboCop and Aliens and Star Wars anymore, but it also does seem like they're. Uh, I, this might sound terrible, just living off of Hellboy, which is great, which is fine, but yeah, I haven't submitted anything to them in a couple of years, and
No, I couldn't even name like a newer Dark Horse hit.
yeah.
I'm not
Other
even
than
sure.
a James Tynan book, that's about the only thing I can think of.
Oh,
The blue book is a
oh yeah,
UFO.
the
Yeah,
blue the UFO one.
yeah.
I didn't read it, but I know what you're talking about. I didn't realize that was Dark Horse. Yeah. I have just two more to ask you about. It's Vault Comics. Have you ever had any rapport with them and Oni Press?
With Vault, I got a polite. We're not accepting submissions right now, and I would call them in the most polite, respectful way, the epitome of what a boutique publisher is. They're in all the right way. Um, they're going to put out what they want when they want it, and they have. If you put the all their covers lined up, minimize them, fit them all on a screen, you're going to see they have a very common, thread. They designed very evenly, dress right dress, as we would say in the army. And you're going to see a lot of the same names. So I get it.
Yeah.
And when they, were first coming out, they were publishing books by Ron V, Donnie Cates, so in the same way that Ignition,
Just trying. Yeah.
yeah,
Starting with the
and Distillery, and it's
Yes, dang it. Yeah, I forgot about all those publishers. Distillery, TKO, they're
right,
all doing just the biggest names.
right.
Um, who am I missing that like we haven't talked about that you either know of as sort of someone could be looking into both you, John, or Andrea. Like who's not on the list that I should put on there?
You named a lot of them. Yeah.
Now it's like depressing because we've gone through everything. Well, it's like either nothing or they're not worth it.
Yeah. Well, Dynamite. We briefly talked about Dynamite. They're still doing things. They took
Yeah,
a they took a hard hit, as monetarily speaking, from the Diamond debacle. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
they took it on the chin hard, but they have a ton of licensed properties. They're doing. Bless
Excuse
you.
me.
they got have all those DC I'm sorry, Disney villains and Elvira, and
Yeah,
they
I
got a
guess
lot of cool properties. So
I've never reached out to them to like write for their licensed property. I just kind of only was doing creator own stuff, so I kind of
yeah.
overlooked them. But yeah, they are on my list of like work for hire. So I didn't even think. I mean, there of course there's others that I didn't bring up, like 2000 AD and
Oh yeah,
um
2000 AD. Yeah.
yeah, I have others that are really small, like like Anyone World, Afterlight, who I just had
Oh yeah,
on the channel, Joseph Oliveira from the UK. He's
yeah,
growing a lot, so
yeah.
that's interesting. One First Comics, I think, is pretty small, lesser known. I actually just interviewed him like 2 weeks ago, where they're also another one where he even admitted, like, not like admitted, but basically was just to where they're more of a collaborative than a publisher, because in the
Right.
same as a lot of these other ones, they don't have access to distribution. He's a lot who I was learning from, where he was saying you kind of have to go through these intermediaries because Lunar is not equipped to handle all of these small press publishers like Diamond used
Sure.
to. Wild Star Press is another one on my list.
Yeah.
I think Philbo, the distributor, also has a publisher. Have you talked
Yeah.
to them?
I've talked to Phil Phil Resert. If I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Yeah, he has his own publishing company and he has his own distribution network. But his is him distributing your book. It's not going, from Source Point Press to Prana. It's him and directly to the comic books shop.
Yes,
So
gotcha.
I think he's depending on. I haven't seen his contracts, or I don't know what the split is, but I think that's a great route if it's in favor to, what you're willing to take a cut of for straight from crowdfunding to the comic book store. I'm seeing some indie common crowdfunding publishers go that route. So, and I did submit to a writing contest that Phil had at the beginning of this year. So fingers crossed, he's actually paying the winner for that writing contest. I no longer submit to writing contests unless it's a paid prize. No more free stuff. But because his is not only get paid, but it gets published. It published on his publishing network through his publishing distribution company into a comic book store. Why not? I can write a 24-page story for something like that. So he that I say all that to show that he's got something going on, to do a talent search, to do his own publishing company, to have his own distribution channels. So there's
Yeah,
something
no,
there.
I get that. He's got things going on.
Yeah,
It's just a different route than
sure.
the traditional methods, or so to speak.
Right.
Have you ever reached out to Archie at all to write under there?
I think I emailed one or two publishers before, but yeah, no bites. That's Cullen Bunn wrote for them. you know, uh,
Yeah, the
for
lords of the space get
yeah,
answers, but
right.
how was your experience with Black Box?
Black
You don't
Box,
have to go into details, but yeah, in
Black Box.
general,
Well, without misspeaking for them, the diamond thing is soured
oh,
their
but
grapes.
uh,
Um, I think they're working right now to try to get distribution somewhere else, and that it's frustrating for me because I wrote a shit ton of Dream Master, that's waiting to come out to be drawn. We have issues 6 through 10 complete, but where are we going to put it out? So
it
I was
sucks.
I was told at the beginning of last year that however it takes for us to get it out, we're going to get it out, and it hasn't come out yet. So yeah, I
Mm.
don't know. I, their last series, which is called Risk. I think that one was interrupted and came out jagged through the final days of Diamond, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think I've gone through the whole gamut. I mean, there's obviously more we could talk about, like Titan. I don't, or if they're even around. Xenoscope,
Yeah.
uh, Valiant, or Alien, or
Oh,
whatever they are now.
yeah. Alien is publishing for Valiant, and Alien also has stuff coming out through IDW, and I think I'm not sure how all
Oh,
that works, but I think like the core Valiant characters are, Alien Books is putting them out through Valiant, but then there's other books that they're putting out through IDW. So
hmm.
I don't understand it, but good for them. And I have emailed Valiant. I don't think I have the right email address, but I would love to do something for that, for old Exo Man of War, or even Archer and Armstrong, and
Yeah, that
those
would be
are from the
amazing.
comic books I was reading. If they ever get Magnus the robot fighter back, I would love that. Let's see.
You know what? That brings me to the last question I'll ask is like, what about the traditional graphic novel publishers? Have you tried to sort of pitch just full, like, Iron Circus or
Um,
Fantagraphics or
yeah,
anyone like that?
I've sent them emails in the past. I can't remember if I ever got anything back from Iron Circus or Fantagraphics. But you know, I think a lot of them would want a good chunk of it already done to see. And if I already have 20 pages or of artwork already done, I'm just going to crowdfund it because I need that money. I need that return. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Before
Yeah.
I can wait. These aren't vanity projects for me. This is, I need to get the money back so I can make the next, chapter, the next issue. That waiting for
Oh,
distribution to pay out is tough.
yeah, you are just like Cullen Bunn, a full-time writer, a
Right.
full-blown comics writer.
Moving
Uh,
to Italy created that. Yeah,
so yeah, you are
thankfully.
reliant on the more you write, the more you make,
Right.
the bigger the hit, the better. Like, yeah, so
Right.
like every what yeah, what do you want to close with? Is there anything else you want to talk about like that, or
Yeah.
advice, general commentary on the industry or anything like that?
Well, one thing, I could write, until my hand falls off, but if the books aren't coming out, then I have to. It has to be a balance. It's great to have a bunch of scripts in the can, but these need to also come out. Too. So if the books aren't coming out, then that's a problem. So that's what, when looking at a publisher or any other type of distribution, I look at, are they getting books out right now? Before I invest too hard in there. I could write for myself for fun anytime, but books in the reader's hands is the end game. That's the goal. So uh, that's why I'm putting a lot of my focus into crowdfunding right now, building my audience there. Getting that money in my checking account 2 weeks after the campaign ends, that's huge. No more chasing someone down, 6 months after they should have given it to me 6 months ago. Business, that doesn't work anymore.
No, yeah, for sure.
You know,
Well, next time I have you on, we'll go into sort of that whole model and how well that's working for you. Because like you're not reliant on the publishers. You have enough of an audience that you
mm,
basically are self-sustaining through the like self-publishing crowdfunded model, and then you
mm,
just license out whoever bites beyond that. Correct? Is
right.
that basically your main
For
model?
for the most part, while seeing if anyone wants to, hire me, work for hire.
Oh yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
do that as
Free
well.
as a
And
freelance. That's, if I can write for myself, produce my own stuff while also supplementing my income through work for hire, freelance writing. That's where it's at. But that's a hard, that's not. as easy as it can be. It takes someone taking risk on you. You know, who?
Yeah.
How many people are out there taking risks? Yeah,
Yeah, not enough. Mad Cave.
yeah, they got something good going on over there. I'm proud of them. Yeah, I got my one little credit with them through one of their anthologies. So that's yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. What anthology were you on?
I had a short story in it's called Lower Your Sights. It was raised funding for the kids impacted by the war in Ukraine. That came out a few
Whoa,
years
cool.
ago. Yeah,
Um, nice.
yeah.
Well, if you got nothing else, Andrea, we'll wrap it up. This has been awesome. I'll let you get to bed, Jonathan. Thanks for
I
doing this.
appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Max, thanks for the invite. Andrea, it was a pleasure. Nice surprise to see you.
Very good to see you too, Jonathan.
Yeah,
Give my best to Francesca.
will do. Will do.
Heck yeah. All right.
All
Peace
right,
out.
gentlemen. Have a good one.